Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? We have exciting news when it comes to the NBA. A target date was set. That's right. It's just a target date, but seeing an actual date on the table makes it sweeter. That is reality. The bad news? Well, it's only May 30th. It's not even June yet, and the date is set for July 31st. So there is a long time. You're talking another 2 months. It's not as if you're going to wake up in a couple days and boom, there will be basketball on the television. 2 months is super long. But it is still nice to know that there is something on the table, something you can look forward to. Hell, knowing that it's even going to be played this summer. I mean, that's a positive to an extent, right? I mean, after everything that went on in the sports world with coronavirus, to think that, hey, at least there's going to be some sort of sports this summer, you can look at it with the half full glass, the glass half full, if you will. I really do enjoy the layout that they are talking about, and I was skeptical because I didn't want them to just jump right into the playoffs. I didn't want them to screw teams that were in the 9th seed, 10th seed, who were close to the 8th seed that could really battle for a playoff spot. I wanted teams to be able to compete, and Damian Lillard was pretty vocal about that over the last week or so, saying, I'm not going to come back just to come back and play with nothing on the table. And I think that that is smart to put away those type of teams. Why do the Knicks need to come back? Why do the Atlanta Hawks need to come back? Why do the Cleveland Cavaliers have to come back? Don't tell me because, well, the fans in those cities, they need something to hold on to, or TV revenue. I'm not knocking the TV revenue part of things because that is big when it comes to sports, whether you like it or not. It's a big business and it is all about the money. But listen, we're going through a pandemic. Those Knicks fans, they hated the Knicks all season long. They can't stand Dolan. The dude's kicking people out of the stadium left and right. Those Knicks fans aren't chomping at the bits to sit down on a Tuesday night and watch a game that absolutely means nothing when their team has, 20 wins? I'm sorry, there's no reason to put those players out there. Hey, take a 3-month break. Get yourself back going. Find a way to get yourself back in shape. Compete with your brothers in a mini camp, in a training camp, and then go play some useless regular season games while other teams are going to compete for the playoffs. I don't know. I just think with this scenario, which is so out there, so weird, and it's not something that this league has ever seen before, you don't need to throw those type of teams back in the mix. So what they decided to do, and look, this isn't confirmed. This is just the most enjoyed plan, if you will. There's about 4 plans on the table as we speak, and there will be another call next week, I believe on Thursday, with Adam Silver and the Board of Governors, so they will come up with a legitimate plan 100% that they will confirm, but it looks like it's going to be very similar to this. 22 teams in Disney World, in the worldwide of sports complex. It will give teams like, here we go, New Orleans, Phoenix, Portland, Sacramento, San Antonio, an opportunity to still compete. There will be some regular season games, maybe a little play-in tournament for that 8th seed as well. And from there, you will have your 1 versus 8, 1 versus 8. There was conversation about 1 versus 16. It didn't seem like that went over well. They're trying to keep this as close to as normal as possible, and keeping the East versus West is that, and I think that that's okay. On my podcast with Daryl Reynolds, Processed, we kind of went into the World Cup concept, where you have group stages, and there's 4 teams in each group, and you play each team twice, and then the top teams of the groups advance. I do think that it's a little gimmicky, a little silly, but at the same time, with what's going on in today's sports world, I mean, I'm okay with a little bit of silliness just based off of, look what's going on. No matter who wins, no matter how you do it, no one's going to properly say they won it. They won it. They deserved it. Everyone's going to be talking about, well, I mean, does that championship really count? It happened in 2020. It happened the year the coronavirus happened. So why not have a little fun with it and get a little wild and see if you can come up with something that's super, super entertaining? while I do think that it would be entertaining and it would be cool to see some awesome matchups in those group stages, if you can keep it as close to normal as possible, I get that side of it as well. And I lean more towards that side, to be fair. Now, before we dive more into this, I just want to let you know that this episode of Sports Talk with Broads is sponsored by Orbit Energy and Power. They set the standard for clean energy. Whether you are looking to add solar to your home or company, Orbit works directly with you to ensure that you are getting the best deal. That's not all. Orbit also provides water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, and more. So visit them online at orbitenergy.us or give them a call at 800-836-3987. The thing that I think is interesting about the teams that aren't in the playoffs being able to still go out there and play to fight for it, when you look at the East, there's really no one close to the Orlando Magic. And the only squad that, according to this ESPN article, is Washington, because they are the only team within 6 games of the 8th seed. But it's not really even close. I mean, 6 games is not close at all. So that last fight for the last spot, it's going to be unique, and it's kind of intriguing. I mean, I feel as if some team like Orlando might get screwed, might get boned. Because if the Wizards aren't close, but they're the closest, and then there's some sort of tournament, a play-in tournament at some point, I mean, we'd have to see exactly how they move forward with this. But there is potential to be some sloppiness involved with that 8th seed and teams just looking out. I think they stole a little bit from the NHL, though, and I'm not saying stole in a bad way. I think Adam Silver is a smart man, and he is utilizing what the NHL did and said, hold on, this could work. There's something here. The NBA is always going to trump the NHL. It's never going to be close. So I'm not thinking the NBA is a little worried about the NHL where they're trying to one-up the NHL. No, the NBA literally destroys the NHL, and this is coming from a hockey guy. But I think if Adam Silver sees something that works, well, yeah, of course. Let's try that. Let's implement that. And I think the NHL did a good job. Kudos to them. Little gimmicky, but kudos to them. They put it together. Adam Silver seems to be doing the same thing. This no fan thing, though, is going to be so wild. You're talking about NBA playoff games and no fans. Now, Woj did report that they are trying to figure something out where family members can go in. So you'll have family members in these gyms. So it'll be quiet. What are you going to have some clapping? Your mom, your dad, your wife clapping along? And as teams get knocked out of the playoffs, this is something I asked Keith Smith of Yahoo NBA. He covers the NBA for Yahoo. I asked him about it, and he said as teams start getting knocked out of the playoffs, that opens up availability for more family members to come in. So when people leave, more people come in. And that's how they're trying to maybe operate with some fans being in the building. But I'm picturing an empty gym for an NBA playoff game. Realistically, I'm thinking about the NBA Finals with no fans. And that's just crazy. That's wild. I couldn't even imagine. But essentially, that's what you're going to get. Now, something that popped up. ESPN has part of this ESPN little culture they have down there in Disney World. I mean, this area, what's it called here? The Disney's ESPN Wide World of Sports Complex. Is there something to be said about the tie when it comes to the money, the finances? Because you're seeing the MLB talking about playing in their actual stadiums. Could the NBA do the same, but they are choosing to do this for a reason? For the money? And I'm not going to knock them in a year like this if this is a way for them to operate and for them to bring in some cash flow. I mean, I'm all for it. It's not like if they played in their actual stadiums, there would be fans allowed. But here's another thing. The NBA is going to compete with the NFL and the NHL, but like I said, it doesn't really matter. If they're going to start in, just say, July 31st, which is essentially August, if they're going to start in August, play a little bit of some regular season or play a little bit of some playoffs or whatever the case may be, a round robin, play-in tournament, whatever, that's going to bleed into the NFL. And the NFL wants to have fans, and they claim that there will be fans in the stadium. So is it going to hurt the NBA to go to a place in Disney World like this? if they could maybe have fans in their normal stadiums once they're in the middle of the playoffs. Why would the NFL be able to have fans, but the NBA not be able to, if these sports are going on at the same time? September, October. Right now, it's hard to picture that. But by October, maybe even by September, if fans are allowed in NFL games, what does that mean for the NBA? There's so much time until then. And we're learning so much more about coronavirus at the time. I mean, seconds after seconds, we're learning so much more. Look at us now compared to where we were on, March 11th when the NBA shut down? People are starting to go to the beach. People are starting to do this and do that. No mess. Now, it feels nice that it seems like the world is starting to come back in terms of the coronavirus maybe weaving away. But there's just so much that can happen. It's crazy to think that, you are going to have a set place to play, not knowing if, maybe it's possible to actually have some sort of fans in the building. And hell, maybe they allow normal fans, not just family, to go into Disney World and go there as they play in these gyms. It's a crazy, crazy thing to even imagine, but here we are. And we got to think, from a Sixer standpoint, what does this mean? And it has to be a positive, It has to be a positive because it can't get much worse than what it was. It was stressful. It was frustrating. It was hostile. The fans despised them, even though that they were 29-2 at home. But there was a big disconnect all around. Maybe this is just something that they needed. A lot of deep breaths, time away from each other, regroup mentally, and let's see what they do moving forward. But it's good to see that they are allowed back in the Camden facility. They are able to at least be in a spot together in New Jersey to go to where they normally go when it comes to getting back on the court, putting up shots, being together. I want the Celtics in the first round. I do. I'm going to be honest with you. I do. I want to see them in the first round. If you escape them and you play the Miami Heat, you would see the Heat and then the Bucks. With the Celtics, you would see the Celtics and then the Raptors, if it plays out that way. And it seems like there's a chance that you're going to get one of those two scenarios. I kind of don't mind seeing the Bucks. See, the Raptors, they have the Sixers' number. They have the Joel Embiid stopper. There were two Joel Embiid stoppers. One was Al Horford and one was Marc Gasol. Well, we took Al Horford for a hefty price tag, may I add. But we took them. Marc Gasol is still there. The Bucks are a better team than the Raptors. I don't think the matchup is great, though, for the Sixers when it comes to the Raptors. And also factor in that we've been hearing this forever. The Sixers are built for the playoffs, and they were built to beat the Bucks. They were built to beat that squad, so why not? I like both scenarios. I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't mind seeing Miami, a little Jimmy Butler rivalry, no doubt about it, and then that bleeds into a Milwaukee Bucks series. But I also wouldn't mind the Celtics. The Celtics first round. The hatred. Despising that green. They have a rivalry, obviously. But Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart going up against this Sixers team for the last couple of years and having their number two. Now it's flip-flopped this regular season. The Sixers did all the dirty work and was able to win the series. But now it's playoff ball, and it's totally different. And there's a lot of funky different situations going on. Will they be able to do it? I do love both scenarios. Will it be weird? Yeah, I think it will be weird. I think it will be weird. But everything's weird at this point. It's hard to normalize anything in the sports world. Let's just get them back on the court. As I stated, there were some other scenarios that were laid out by the NBA to the NBA Board of Governors. The 22-team one was one that I liked. There was also one for a 20-team format. There was one with some regular season games and some play-in tournaments. I feel the one that is completely off the board now, though, when I dive deeper into it, is just coming back normal. All teams playing out the rest of the regular season. It just doesn't seem like that was voted by the people involved. With that being said, though, what that means is they're going to have to come up with a whole new schedule, because there would be scenarios where the Bucks maybe had the Cavs left on their schedule, or the Raptors had to play a team that's no longer going to be there, and now you're going to have to change it all around. And it wouldn't be fair, though, Like, it wouldn't be fair if the Raptors had to play, I don't know. I keep using them as an example just because I know they're on the bottom, but we'll throw the Knicks in there. And the Knicks aren't feeling it. They don't feel like playing at all. They're going through a head coaching change. They're working on Tom Thibodeau or Kenny Atkinson or whoever they're trying to hire right now. And they got to go out there and play a game against a team that's trying to work themselves up for the playoffs. Now, you can say, bros, that happens all the time normally in an NBA season during this time of the year where there's no one on the Knicks who feels like playing. They have 20 wins. They're down the back stretch into the regular season going into the postseason. It's the same thing during an NBA season. It is, but it's not, because you normally don't take 3 months off, sit on the couch, do nothing. You're mentally checked out. It's not the same scenario. I get that it might be similar to a minor extent, but big picture, it's not the same. The question, though, is, does this excite you? And my answer is, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it excite me to see July 31st? It's far, no doubt. One thing that bothers me, though, is, I got a response on Twitter because I said, listen, July 31st is far, but ultimately, getting sports back. I mean, that's a big sign. Having a set date, that matters to me. And I got the response of, who cares? The Sixers suck anyway. And if you have that mindset, that bothers me. Of course, they had an annoying season. It wasn't an entertaining season. But you'd rather have no sports at all? You'd rather have nothing. Why? Because the Sixers weren't that fun? I'm not sitting here telling you the Sixers are going to win the NBA title. Let's go. I don't know what teams are going to come out hot. I don't know what teams are going to come out slow. The Sixers could come out slow as hell. They could come out hot. They could come out just mediocre. Nobody knows. But I'd rather see it than not see it. And that's different from me talking about these teams with 20 wins, 18 wins. That's not the same as being in a playoff spot. Talking about an NBA title from the beginning of the season. Two totally different playing fields. But if you're a fan of the Sixers, I don't know how you would rather not have the games on. I'd rather be extremely passionate, annoyed, bothered with bad basketball than go through this time without anything, waking up every day asking myself, will we get any news? Will we hear anything? This is so much better, right? Seeing them compete, breaking down a game, yelling about Ben Simmons, yelling about Joel Embiid's health, being pissed off with Al Horford, hell, even talking about Brett Brown. I will take that over this any day of the week, and you know that drives me crazy. So crazy that I actually have a podcast lined up in the next couple of days talking about Brett Brown. So be ready. And I can't wait to dive into it. Because there are people who would, you know what? I'll tease it. Just be prepared for a Brett Brown conversation. That'll be fun. That'll be really fun. It's May 30th. When did I say this all happened? March 11th? March, April, May. We're getting down 3 months now. So put that in perspective of how far away July 31st really is. But here's also a thing. We would get so antsy, so fired up, so juiced up just to hear about a mini training camp. When Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, they're in the facility and maybe you get some footage of them working out, working on some plays, just getting back in the flow, hearing them talk right to the media and hearing Brett speak and hearing Elton Brand speak and just seeing basketball life back, that'll be enough to hold us. So if that happens around June, well, now we're only a couple weeks away or so. If that happens mid-June or whatever the case may be, when they come up with a legit date for everyone to be piled back to actually start working themselves back into shape as like a legit team and its structured format, that'll be enough to hold us to July 31st. That could happen late June, early July. But you know that's coming. You're also hearing news about the NFL. They might be able to squeeze in some camps. So that'll get us going too. Like that is solid. That is definitely a positive. I'm not trying to be looking at it in a negative way when I say it's so far away, but I'm just being realistic. It's great to see the date. And I can't wait to hear what they come up with next week when things are confirmed, when things are laid out completely, because then you will understand more exactly how it's all going to go. We knew prior to this setup, when Adam Silver spoke on Friday, that it wasn't going to be laid out like the NHL where you would have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. It would be more of a broad conversation. But listen, things are rolling. Things are totally starting to flow. And a lot can change in the positive. A lot can happen. We can learn more. We can get things going quicker. The NBA is normally the one that I respect the most when it comes to things like this. They're not irrational. They don't move too quickly. They don't make horrendous decisions under Adam Silver. They seem to be very logical. They process a lot of information. They take their time. If it's going to take time, they're going to take their time. Because they were one of the first ones when everything started to happen. Like, listen, we don't know. We're not just going to spit things out. We're not just going to say a lot. Let's just get everything we need to know, and then let's work on it. So when they break things down, I respect them the most. That doesn't mean I don't respect what the NHL did, because I do. I definitely don't respect whatever the hell is going on with the MLB, but that's a totally different fight. That's a money fight. The NFL, I like their motor, but they're in a different atmosphere because they are not happening during the regular season. This stuff isn't happening during their play. It's happening through other stuff. And I like the way the NFL is doing it from their perspective, but it's a different perspective. With the NBA, when they start putting out stuff like this, I feel they are the ones that normally make the right decisions, the proper decisions. Whether it is perceived right or wrong, they make decisions that could be harsh, but right. So when they lay out all this stuff, it makes me feel good that things are going on the right track, because I don't think Adam Silver would just throw people into this if they didn't have the correct information to do so. So there you have it. I'm excited. There's still a little bit of ways to go, but I'm excited. I can't wait to continue following this, right? Following the NBA, see what's going to happen. I feel next week you're going to start getting a lot more information. You're going to be able to really see the structure involved, and that will definitely have us, getting more and more intrigued as the days go on. So I would love to hear your thoughts on the NBA returning, possibly July 31st. I would love to. You can comment down below in the YouTube video. And if you're listening to this on Apple Podcast or any other podcasting platforms, you can use the review section as a place to comment. I love reading those comments, so make sure you do that. And one last time, this episode of Sports Talk with Broads is sponsored by Orbit Energy and Power, and they set the standard for clean energy. So whether you are looking to add solar to your home or company, Orbit works directly with you to ensure that you are getting the best deal. That's not all. Orbit can also provide water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, and more. So visit them online at orbitenergy.us or give them a call at 800-836-3987. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you all next time.